Ready? Oh. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for coming. Welcome to our session. We're really excited to have all of you joining us in the incredible UAE Pavilion this afternoon. My name is Grace Young, and I am Student Energy's Mentorship and Events Manager. I'm thrilled to be here today alongside some of our honored guest speakers to be talking about youth empowerment in the energy sector and launching the International Student Energy Summit for 2023. Joining us today, we have Tarek M. Tara, who is the Director of Decarbonization and Sustainable Energy at UNIDO. We have Pazi Ogola, who is the Vice Chair of IRENA's Global Council on SDG 7. We have Ali Al-Shamari, who is the Chairman of the Youth Energy Council on Energy. Dr. Abdullah Malek, who is the Head of Energy Transition Strategy for COP28. Helen Watts, who is the Senior Director of Global Partnerships with Student Energy. And then Benamin Sharjalaki, who is the co-chair of the 2023 Student Energy Summit. Before turning over to our privileged guest that we have here today, I would like to provide a bit of context to Student Energy and the summit itself. Student Energy is the world's largest youth-led energy organization working with young people to scale their contribution to the energy transition. We have a network of over 50,000 young people in over 130 countries, and we deliver 10 skill building, capacity building, career training, education, and community building programs. One of these programs, the International Student Energy Summit, is our flagship event. This summit takes place every 2 years in a new city around the world, and we are thrilled that for the very first time in 2023, it will be coming to the Middle East. In November 2023, at the margins of COP28, New York University, Abu Dhabi, will be hosting and welcoming hundreds of students from over 100 countries to collaborate, meet with energy leaders, members of government, and peers to motivate each other and scale solutions for the energy transition. Before diving in, I would like to highlight how incredibly competitive and complex winning the bid to host this summit is. The team of students, one of whom will be joining us in a minute here today, who have put together an extensive proposal alongside their post-secondary institution and submitted it to Student Energy to be able to bring this summit and this event to their city. Before we dive in, I would like to invite you to join me in congratulating this exceptional team of students who I have the privilege to work alongside to deliver the Student Energy Summit 2023. Over the past few days, we have had some incredibly exciting conversations with key stakeholders in the energy transition and in the Middle East who were really excited about potential collaborations in the future on the summit with. Today, there will be an opportunity for those of you in the audience to engage and share your perspectives and help shape this summit that is for the youth and led by the youth. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Helen Watts, who will share a bit of history about the summit, as well as share and lead our discussion on youth engagement in the energy sector.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Grace. And thank you all so much for being here in a truly monumental time for us. I think both as an organization, Student Energy, but also really as a global climate and energy movement. Young people we've seen more than ever are mobilizing around climate solutions and the energy transition. And this event happening next year on the sidelines of COP28 will mark a really critical moment for young people really being able to come together at new heights to really accelerate what needs to be an inclusive and rapid energy transition in order to align with our climate objectives. So without further ado, I would love to give you a little bit of a history as to Student Energy and the Student Energy Summit and really how we got started and where we got motivated to build this movement. So as Grace mentioned, the International Student Energy Summit is our flagship event, and it takes place every 2 years in a different city around the world. My first International Student Energy Summit was actually back in 2017 when I first joined Student Energy. It was in Merida, Mexico, and brought together over 500 students from 100 different countries around the world, and it was an incredible experience that completely changed the way that I engage on energy as a young person. My next summit was in London at Imperial College in 2019, even bigger, more expansive, more global, and the conversations were even more cutting edge. And Student Energy actually started back in 2008. So we have over 14 years of history in engaging young people and running the summit. We were started by a group of students in Calgary in Canada, where I'm from, who were starting to get engaged in the energy sector and really felt that there was no platform that existed for young people to have these conversations with decision makers who were defining what the future of energy looked like. And they decided to take matters into their own hands, as many young people do. They decided that what they would do would be to actually host an international student energy summit to see whether or not what they were feeling was shared by other young people around the world. The summit was a huge success. It brought together 350 students from 40 countries around the world, and for them, it really catalyzed this moment of wanting to build a movement of young people who can be connected to each other, connected to leaders in the space, and really have the support and resources they need to become effective leaders in our clean energy transition. And so I'll move along here just to share a little bit about the context in which student energy operates and what we really identify ourselves with as an organization and as a movement, and ultimately as the Student Energy Summit as well. We very much see the energy transition as working across the sustainable development value chain. Young people are so passionate about energy solutions that address multiple sustainable development goals, offer communities different co-benefits, and ultimately are working to achieve as many goals as possible globally and within communities. And with 14 years of experience developing and delivering capacity building programs for youth, the Student Energy Summit is still our flagship convening event, but ultimately we run a suite of 10 different capacity building programs, training programs for young people to become leaders. We are working with key stakeholders to ensure that young people are meaningfully engaged, and we know that youth are incredible change makers and innovators. There is incredible potential right now to accelerate the clean energy transition if we do work to ensure that young people are well prepared and supported to perform meaningful work. We need to train young people to address the existing skills gap and emerging skills gap and meet growing demand for the energy transition and energy access jobs. And we need decision makers to ensure that young people are at the table and valued as key stakeholders in the energy transition. A kind of way of phrasing that I often use is thinking kind of beyond youth as beneficiaries of the energy transition. I think we very much often hear this kind of phrase of including young people at the table, but we're looking for more than that. Looking to really engage young people as meaningful stakeholders, as partners, recognizing their potential to really become leaders now and be participating in solutions actively. And young people have really proven what it takes. So the International Student Energy Summit in 2023 will be a transformative space for intergenerational collaboration in the energy sector. We're not making this call just for young people. We're very excited about over 600 young people gathering in Abu Dhabi next year. But ultimately, it's also very much about bringing together leaders and actors in the energy space who are committed to working with young people and excited to hear from them on their innovative ideas and solutions for how we can make this transition happen together. And CES 2023 will cultivate a space for young people from diverse backgrounds and geographic locations, unique educational and socioeconomic backgrounds to network and present their innovative solutions to our energy challenges. The summit will provide a space for young people from around the world to network, share ideas, and brainstorm innovative solutions for our energy challenges. But I don't want to get too deep into detail because I'm very delighted to invite Benjamin, who is actually the heading up the entire International Student Energy Summit next year, along with an incredible team who will share a little bit more about what the summit looks like next year and what to expect going forward over the next road to CES 2023. So without further ado, Benji, I'm delighted to invite you on stage to share a bit more.
Thank you, Helen. So before we get started, I would like to share with you the launch video of the summit, because the summit was officially announced at the end of October, and just within the week from opening the pre-registration, we got over 1,000 young people from around the world who expressed their interest in coming to Abu Dhabi and joining us for the summit. So again, hello everyone. My name is Benjamin, and I'm currently a student at New York University Abu Dhabi, and also serving as co-chair of Student Energy Summit 2023. And it's our great pleasure to be here today with you at the UAE Pavilion at COP27 to share with you more about the summit and to also hear remarks and suggestions from all of you as to how we can make the summit better and more inclusive than any previous summit before. So as you already heard from Helen, Student Energy Summit is Student Energy's flagship event that takes place every 2 years. And after a break because of COVID, we are coming back and we are hoping to make this event better than before. The summit grew to over 650 participants during the last iteration in London, and we hope that we will be able to reach at least 650 participants again in Abu Dhabi, with people coming from over 100 countries. And the theme for our summit is reimagining the future. For those of you who are from the UAE, this may sound familiar because it's a play on the theme of Expo 2020, because the UAE is very much driving the vision for thinking how future of the energy transition, how the future of sustainability should look like. And we, as the Student Energy Summit, want to be part of this mission. We want to connect today's young professionals with the leaders of the energy sector of tomorrow, of today, to create change makers of tomorrow. We are very pleased to have already received significant endorsement from actors from across the energy sector in the UAE and beyond. We have a stellar advisory board who committed to sharing with us their advice and support with creating partnership and improving the agenda of the summit to make sure that we are on the top of discussion when it comes to the energy transition. So these are our advisors. His Excellency Mr. Francesco La Camera, the Director General of IRENA, Her Excellency Dr. Nawal Al-Hosseini, UAE's permanent representative to IRENA, Mr. Antonius Voludis, the Director of Sustainability and Stewardship at NYU Abu Dhabi, Pasi Amai Ogola, Vice Chair of IRENA's Global Youth Council on SDG 7, His Excellency Mr. Luis de Alba, Mexico's Ambassador to the UAE, who was also the Secretary General Special Envoy to 2019 Climate Summit, Dr. Lamia Fawaz, the Executive Director for Strategic Initiatives and Brand at Masdar, and Mr. Ibrahim Al-Zubi, Senior Vice President for Sustainability at ADNOC. So we really do have partners from across the energy sector in the UAE. And now we want to make this summit the largest youth-led event in the Middle East, which will obviously correspond to COP28 next year in the UAE, hopefully creating important impacts for the discussion on climate action. But summit is not only meant to be the 3 or 4 days during which we'll meet in Abu Dhabi. The summit is also about the pathway from today to November 2023. Because from the conversations that we had with COP28 team, we understand that, again, it's not just about those 3 days, it's about the impact that we can create by engaging with young people from around the world. So some of the main impacts that we are trying to create is to firstly include young people who usually don't have an opportunity to participate in those international conferences, to really go to local communities and find their leaders and bring them to Abu Dhabi to be part of this conversation. Second, it's about accelerating youth-led enterprises and research and other initiatives. Again and again, those of us who talk to young professionals, young entrepreneurs, we hear that resources are a major obstacle for youth participation in energy transition, and we hope that the summit will help to fill this gap. And thirdly, we want to connect young people with industry professionals and leaders of the energy sector. While here at COP, many of us do have a chance to talk to industry leaders, many people do not have those opportunities in their schools or universities. And Summit will certainly be a chance to address this, as it has been for the past years. And as I mentioned already many times, Summit will be happening in parallel to COP28, which we see as a tremendous opportunity. And we are committed to working closely with COP28 presidency team to align with their goals of youth empowerment and energy transition. So that's it from me. We hope that many of you will follow our journey or become our partners on the way to SES 2023. If we are not in touch yet, we probably should. So please contact us on email or read more about the summit on the website. And we hope to see you in Abu Dhabi next year.
Thank you, Benji. And so now we will invite our guest speakers to come have a seat alongside me on stage, and we will begin our discussion and then turn to the audience for a few engagement pieces as well. So. Great. Thank you all for joining us today. We are really thrilled to have you here. It's really an honor. And so before we dive into our engagement piece with the audience, we would like to ask each of you how you feel the Student Energy Summit 2023 has the potential to address gaps that are currently facing young people in the energy sector. So if you could each provide a brief opening statement, a few remarks before we engage with the audience, that would be incredibly appreciated. And we will start with you, Ali.
Good afternoon, and thank you for hosting me. And I'm really my pleasure to participate in this discussion. I would like to see, and I'm expecting to see that in the Student Energy Summit, to see that 3 points. One of the points is building the skills such as agility. And the second point is about raising the awareness about the energy security, energy transition, and the climate change. And the third one, and the most important one, I want to see the youth adopting the collaborative mindset instead of the competitive mindset. I want to see the youth as one unit to shape the future of this planet. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And Kazi, on to you.
Great, thank you so much. I mean, such good points. My expectations are huge and many, and I wonder whether I can list all of them right now. But first of all, I wonder, and I'm hoping to see whether this summit can truly create an enabling environment for young people in SDG 7 to play their active role in finding solutions to the various energy challenges and associated challenges across different sectors during the summit. How can we strengthen the capacity of youth beyond just the technical skills, but also provide a space where they're receiving the kind of training, connections, networks that they need to be the true future leaders in the energy space. So I'm hoping the summit will also provide an intergenerational space to anchor or to learn or to receive or to transfer knowledge, decision-making tools with the current energy leaders in the space, but also leveraging on that as future energy leaders. And I wonder, just as we're thinking about what kind of skills this space might provide, how are we thinking about skills such as futures and foresight that usually young people are missing in those processes when it comes to strategic energy planning at national level? How can we begin to provide a space where youth in the energy space are part and parcel of thinking about the future of energy systems and playing a role in that strategic foresight planning together with current leaders? Because as some of the opening remarks said, youth are not just a vulnerable group, they're young professionals and they're educated and they're able. So I'm hoping this forum will be the space where we truly have those future leaders trained and enabled to play their role.
Thank you so much, and thrilled to continue these conversations on an advisory board in the future. And then on to you, Tarek.
Thank you, Grace, and pleasure to be here with you. And thanks to Student Energy for inviting me to this conversation, very important one. I think from the perspective of where we are today and where we want to be in 2050, a net zero energy system and a net zero world, we are charting the pathways where today's actions are the legacy in which you have to live with, and you have to manage also the risks and the opportunities out of this. And I think it's about the right time to co-create these pathways. And we want to see that we are engaging on an equal footing with all the stakeholders, all the constituencies, and particularly the youth, in really co-creating these pathways. There are difficult choices we have to make on technology pathways and the socio-economic effect. Don't leave it to the old vested interest. Participate in co-creating these pathways. And I think this is an opportunity where we want to have this opportunity to also engage with you midway into your summit. If we can support through the Vienna Energy Forum that UNIDO is co-convening every year. It comes in June, and this is an opportunity where we can support some of these activities to co-create with you useful discussion. You mentioned foresight, but it's also decisions about what are the variables, what are the values we want to embed in these pathways that are important for us. The second one, I think, the energy transition and the net zero pathway is about enormous new skill sets that we need to bring to the landscape of education, science, and technology. And I think also this is another focus area that we want to work with you, and we need you to help us shape the conversation on what are the skill sets that we can shape for that. A lot of it hardcore engineering and technology based, but a lot of it policy and economic based kind of skill sets. And without, I mean, we're looking today at the number. If we're looking about decarbonizing, for example, the hard to abate sectors, our biggest bottleneck is going to be supply chains and skills. Supply chains and skills. And the third, if you allow me, the third point I want to touch upon is this is the greatest job creation opportunity and entrepreneurship opportunities we'll ever have in any kind of historic transitions that humanity face. So this is an enormous space for creative, innovative business model solutions, entrepreneurship. Again, I think this is where you are going to be shaping the next generation of entrepreneurs, unicorns, and billion-dollar companies that will transform our energy systems to a net zero pathway. So we also want to make sure that the policy environment, the ecosystems are conducive for young talents to engage in the co-benefits of the energy transition. So these are three pillars I wanted to share with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you to each of our speakers for providing some context before we dive into this discussion here. So I love everything each of you has shared with us so far. I love the point on agility and really building these skills for young people coming to connect, looking at intergenerational collaboration. We know the summit is going to be a space for that to happen as well. The mention of interdisciplinary skills and building skills together across disciplines and having that coordination. We know that young people are incredible change makers and extremely creative, and the summit is a really unique opportunity for not only youth from different skill sets and different backgrounds to come together, but youth from different regions. And so that's where we can really bring these skills and ideas together and create these innovative solutions that are going to propel us forward alongside intergenerational collaboration. So without further ado, we would love to turn it over to the audience. We will be asking a few questions to those of you sitting in front of me here today, and then our panelists will have the opportunity to engage back with some of your feedback. Please note that we are really, really receptive to shaping this summit around the views of young people and what will motivate young people to attend. So we have some folks in the audience and from our team who will be writing down diligently everything you say. And if we don't get the chance to hear from you today, please contact us or find us after, and we would love to hear your insights. So the first question that we have is for the youth in the audience, and I know I see a few of you. So we really want to know what would make this summit remarkable for you. What is going to motivate you to show up to this event? And we do have a mic here as well. Oh. Don't be shy. Whoever wants to go first, put your hand up. In the front here. Voluntold. Thanks.
Well,
Hi everyone. I think what would motivate me to come would be more intrinsic in my urge to create action and locally led solutions and bringing that to the table. So I'd like to see a system where everything that I engage in within the summit is also reflected back home and I can close that loop. So if I go as one person, I represent many, many other young Kenyans back home. So yeah.
That's awesome. And sorry, do you mind sharing with us your name and where you're from, just for
Oh.
everybody else here?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Charop Soy, and I'm a Student Energy Fellow 2022.
Great, thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Kakembo Brian. I'm from Uganda. I think what would really motivate me to come, and actually speaking for many youth, is a chance to find a career path within energy. And so I would anticipate that there would be probably a career day during the summit, or like an exhibition ground for companies in the energy sector that have opportunities for youth to do fellowships, internships, trainings, and maybe most of us will find a career there. Thank you.
Great. Well, without seeing any, perfect.
Hi, I'm Asma, Master Students in Energy Performance Sector. What will makes interested to attend that let me know how I can utilize my technical knowledge in building the future, because we all know the technology, but not we all know how to use it.
Thank you. That's an incredible point, really showcasing the opportunities available. And I think that connects right into what we've heard, we've heard from the other speakers as well. Does anyone else want to share before we give our panelists the opportunity to respond? No? Okay. Well, we've heard a bit about being able to bring this community and this knowledge back home and share with other youth, and career opportunities, and really learning about where skill sets are most applicable and where youth can contribute to the energy transition. Would any of you, is that speaking to any of you? Would you like to grasp onto that, take it a little bit further?
I'm happy to jump in here quickly. I mean, I think what I also echo from the conversation is people want meaningful engagement, not just token discussions, and I think meaningful engagement is and what you can take back home with your question is basically to inspire the other constituencies in your country, but also to bring concrete possibilities for change within the political and the policy domain of each country. And I think that requires tackling a few issues. One is empowerment, but it's also knowledge, but it's also access. And I think we need to facilitate that access through the Student Energy Summit, but along the way also, so that you build momentum along, access to policymakers to have a dialogue with this. I think, and we have to really work better at finding these avenues of having the right seat at the table, and so basically to feel also empowered that you can bring the added value into the conversation. Career path and utilization of technical skills, that's fundamental. And that's what the notion of co-creating the pathways, it's part of that is to understand what do we need to put on the table in terms of skills, skill sets, not only for the next 5 years, but for the next 25 years to get the energy transition on board. And you need to be also on top of these kind of roadmaps and aware of it and have a dialogue on these. This is one way of also plugging in some of the issues.
Great, thank you.
I'm going to add on to that and just say, being a representative of your community and the missing voices, but also what will you be bringing from the youth who you work with from home to this summit. So I think there is an opportunity there to have like localized process, preparatory sessions in the lead up to the summit to allow for truly those contextual frameworks and issues in the local levels to be brought into what I imagine will be the largest global forum for young people in the energy space. So that would be my response to you, Cherub. On the idea about finding a career path, I think that was you. I want to link that to energy education and how we are thinking about energy education and training, not just for the youth, but also for children. I'm seeing a lot of emerging children's books on energy, beginning to put children in that frame to think about how they can contribute to the energy transition, how to secure energy resources for the future. So there is something about energy education. Where is it available? Are there scholarships that are available for young people wanting to go into energy and climate policy, or even the technical skills and things like that? I know in East Africa, where I come from, there's only one university that is offering a master's program that is interdisciplinary in the energy and climate space. How can we provide a frame where we're also including academia to be part and parcel of building this future generation of young leaders in energy, but also young entrepreneurs, engineers in the energy space? And then the last thing was how you want to come and use your technical skills, learn how you can use your technical skills to build that future. And I think I'm going to link this a little bit back to what I was talking about, futures and foresight. And I think if we can bring in an element of foresight practitioners into the space who can help map out different possible futures in the energy space, then it's a good opportunity for you also to join in that convening that might happen during the summit, to see how you can be a contributor in reimagining a different future for energy transition, but also enacting that future. So this would be my contribution to the conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think they have covered everything. Just I will highlight some of the points related to the finding the career path itself. Such as platform there, it gives you the opportunity to meet people from different sectors, and specifically the energy sector. You will meet people, you will bounce ideas with them, and you will find the latest technologies or latest topics that are related to your sector. So, as you know, that the speed of change is very high. So you might, from today till the next year, you find something new. So keeping yourself closer to this such an event, it will give you the opportunity and the advantage to grab your path and to correct your track again. The second thing is about utilizing your potential or capabilities. We have to admit that we have some gaps, and we have to complement each other. So, such as areas there, you can see yourself, you are technically strong, for example, in the hydrogen production, for example. But there is a gap in the logistics of the hydrogen. Such as platform, it gives you the opportunity to complement with others also.
Great, thank you so much. Yeah, and so we know that the summit will be a space where certainly we can bridge young people who are motivated to contribute meaningful work to the energy space and seek their energy careers, but not only gain access to the sector, but it's also about thriving in the sector as well. So hopefully this will also be a space where youth can make those meaningful connections, find mentors, find others who potentially have just gotten the job that they're seeking and are in those entry-level positions, and really learn about making those connections and expanding their professional networks. And I really value what each of you said as well, and pointing out that it's not just about career opportunities, it's also about education and skill building opportunities, and even just the opportunity of access to a space like the summit where you can meet young people and members of industry and government and key stakeholders from all over the world. So thank you to each of you for your remarks, and thank you very, very much to our members of the audience who participated. We do have one more question to pose to everybody in the audience this time, not just the youth that are in front of me here. So we've talked a little bit about how this will be a space for intergenerational and interdisciplinary collaboration. And that intergenerational collaboration is so critical if we're going to be successful transitioning towards a clean, sustainable energy future. So our question for our folks in the audience today is, what would you want that intergenerational collaboration to look like? And how would you expect that to come about? It could either be from members of the audience who are young people who are seeking those kind of collaborations, or if you are somebody who has been in the industry for a while, what would it look like to you to meaningfully collaborate with young people at the summit? Back there, we have one. Feel free to come forward. And please introduce yourself and where you're from as well.
Mic test. Thank you very much. My name is Dion Chikoza and I'm from Namibia. I represent an NGO called Namibian Youth on Renewable Energy, and we focus on mainstreaming youth participation in the energy sector back home. To strictly and directly answer your question, how I envision meaningful intergenerational collaboration, I'll first look at it from a philosophical perspective, because the intergenerational equity is a principle which is supposed to then be translated into an action of some sort. So the first thing for me is respect and recognize young people where they are. In my country, the most innovative youth have not gone to university, but some of them have concocted various technologies that are producing electricity or generating some type of energy. However, up until now, I've not seen them being adopted into the universities because they don't meet the minimum entry requirements. But they say necessity dictates innovation, or innovation is mostly led by necessity. So these people are not innovating because they went to school. They are innovating because they had to watch YouTube videos and see random ways of putting things together. I have a youth here that also produced their own electrolyzer, 19-year-old in my country, because we are looking into green hydrogen as well. But what I have not seen is that looking at youth as a demographic dividend is not enough, because you're only looking at us from an age perspective. I think you must look at youth as a social category and people who have different contexts and different realities and different problems. So if you, for example, say you're going to give $100,000 for innovations amongst young people on energy security, the danger with that is you're not taking into account, for example, maybe the rules will say you must be a startup that has been operating for at least 1 or 2 years. Chances are, if I'm from a poor background, I never had the capital to even put or invest in my startup. But the more privileged youth in my country then, whose parents or access to capital allowed them to operate for at least 1 or 2 years, would best qualify for that $100,000. So it's best to look at the context in which you are engaging the youth. And then from there, I think meaningful engagement would make sense. Because I think looking at youth as one whole group, one size fits all, is a bit dangerous, especially for us African youth, because we are divided by borders, we are divided by language, we are divided by past historical differences, and also needs and our relationships with government. Some governments don't even have ministries of youth. So some youth don't even know what SDG 7 looks like. So I would believe maybe a baseline would be best, and maybe this summit can help identify the needs. So for me, meaningful engagement is recognizing how far young people have come, and then also understanding where they want to go, and that would help define where you can best support them, because I've not seen that kind of approach. So for me, that's directly how I'll answer it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. That was absolutely incredible, and I really appreciate the context you provided there. And I'm actually going to turn it back over now to our panel, just to see if there was something that you picked up on there that you wanted to respond to.
Can we brief the question?
Pardon?
Can we brief the question?
Yeah.
So I think you touch one of the important points we had here, youth in Africa. It was a panel discussion. And in Africa, one of the most regions or continents that it has the fastest growth in youth range. And as you mentioned, that the demography is very important to categorize and focus on them. Going back to the Student Energy Summit and how the youth, they will participate in their innovations, I think the industrial players, they can play a vital role to share through the summit what the key pain points in the market, as you mentioned, the energy sector or the climate change areas, SDGs, and from there, we have to have a touch point space that we, with the Irina or someone from Africa Youth, to share with them these points. And once they come back to the summit, they will come with the ideas. So it's not only categorized by ages. It will be such difficult, you will break the youth. But divided that by sectors, it will help to more focus and deep dive to it.
Thank you so much. For the sake of time here, we're actually going to have to wrap up this portion of the segment. And so thank you so much to each of our guest speakers for joining us here today. It's been an honor to be up here alongside you. And now I would like to invite Dr. Abdullah Malek to come and provide some closing remarks for this session today.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you, our panelists. Thank you, Helen and Benjamin, for inviting us to this exciting, energetic, and youthful session. Before I start, I would like to say that whenever you interact with youth, you sense curiosity, you sense passion, you sense this eagerness for adding value. So the question we heard today, how can we add value? How can we be ready once we are there at the summit, for example, can contribute effectively? And these qualities of youth are much needed for driving and coming up with make or change maker solutions, because technology is the biggest cross-cutting enabler for many of our climate change action needed. So, and these qualities makes us very excited about youth, and this is why we are really, as one of our focus areas in COP28, would like to empower the youth. So, and we are very excited about the Student Energy Summit coming to the UAE around the sideline of COP28. And basically, we would like to definitely give more, let's say, expand the representation of youth within the COP process, as well as providing access to resources, as well as the career development opportunities within the COP itself. So basically, the other thing that I would like to mention, last week we have Her Excellency Shamal Mazrou'i, together with Masdar and our team, we have announced a program for 10 youth fellows from the UAE to represent the UAE youth social category, I would call it. And basically, they will be representing the youth at the presidency and the UNFCCC events throughout 2023. So we'll be coordinating with the Student Energy Summit regarding this program that will be launched soon. And the last thing I would like to mention, that we are going to announce the Youth Climate Champion very soon. And that person, I won't reveal whether it's a she or a he, but that person will be expanding and supporting and facilitating the youth, the existing work through the Youngo, as well as the youth organizations. So very excited. And the last thing I would like to mention, if you'd like to sense these qualities of the youth, I would recommend that you stop by the youth pavilion, which I just came from there. It always recharges you. It's always full and busy and crowded, and so many good and great discussions, and you sense the passion there. So thank you once again, and thank you for inviting us, and all the best.
Thank you so much, Dr. Malek, and thank you everybody in the audience for joining us today. A huge thank you to our hosts here at the UAE Pavilion. We are incredibly excited to continue these conversations and collaborate with all of you on bringing the summit to the Middle East for the very first time, and I look forward to seeing you all in Abu Dhabi in November 2023. Thank you for joining.